Yeah, Click and Echo has been seeing a crazy amount of play as of late, and I don't even know where this came from. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. I'm up to 7 people telling me this week that they've seen Click and Echo all across different places in the regional sphere. And I haven't seen this pop up in a top regional deck list yet, but a friend of mine told me that he was actually playing Click and Echo, and he handed Click and Echo to his opponent. His opponent linked it out, handed it back to him, and then he IP'd it on over to the opponent again. So what in the world does Click and Echo do? Well, first of all, this was in Dune. I know a lot of people haven't paid too much attention to some of the comments here, but this cannot be used as material for a fusion, synchro, or exceed summon. Cannot be tributed while face up in the monster zone, and if this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a link summon, special summon this card in defense position to the opponent's side of the field that link summoned it. And you can only use this effect to Click and Echo twice per turn, and while this card was summoned by this effect as a monster zone, you must keep your hand revealed. So what is the value you're getting with this? Well, it's level 2. It's essentially a discount Nightmare Corruptor, because if you hand this to the Cashtira player, they're going to have to deploy like a Birth in order to kind of play around this. And while your opponent actually has this face up, you get to look at their hand and see what you have to play around, which means that you can play around, you know, any sort of potential combo piece that they might have. Know what to hand trap at the end of the day. The knowledge that you're getting from this card is why you play it. Once again, I mean, sprite combo piece as it is, being a level 2. I think that this is kind of cool at the end of the day. And the fact that I'm genuinely making a video about this going, hey, Click and Echo is seeing some crazy amounts of play. I think that you do need to be aware of this. If you're like, oh, what, Click and Echo, what's going on here? Like, why has this resolved? Well, that's why. Also, Runic for Hire has been trying this out as well. I don't know. The hand reveal thing makes sense to me for the knowledge, but this is actually wild. Okay, sure. Now let's get into some things that are a little bit more realistic here. Tron. Now, Tron over the weekend here had a pretty big explosion, if you will, in terms of representation. It actually got 3rd place. Top 4, top 8. It was one of those out of the remote regional. And no, if you're like, Robbie, you got these deck lists, you got these to back. No, I don't have the list. They wanted to keep it quiet. And I don't blame them at that point in time. I am assuming that they're probably going to be heading more towards the stop the opponent from playing during the certain phase. The denial of that functionality has been, I think, one of the things that tends to make Tron a little bit more scary as a deck, but I mean, let's be honest here. We've already seen D. Crow kind of enter back into the format. That's a little bit of a fun fact, by the way, if you haven't paid too much of attention. Crows are back. While Bysteals are seeing some sort of representation, you do have Crows kind of cawing around, because once again, I mean, if you got something like Tron returning back into the meta, you're going to take a look at Crow, and you're going to be like, okay, well, this is a utility asset that can take away something from the opponent that they're trying to combo with necessarily in their graveyard, and the spot removal option for that is actually incredibly useful. So yes, I do want you to know that Tron is gaining momentum right now. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody pushes this deck even further, or if it just blows off into the sunset. Sometimes this weekly hype that we do see can disappear off into the sunset, but it is one of those things that you're like, hey, you know, what's going on with this? Is there something to this? You know, I don't know. But innovation does tell me that there is a possibility here that you should be very, very scared of Tron. You shouldn't be scared of Tron. Just be aware that it's sitting at the dinner table, that it is, you know, seeing a little bit more play, and I think you'll be fine at the end of the day. Maybe you want to pick up Tron now. Who knows? Next up is Ghost, Mourner, and Moonlit Chill. Do you know how many players they're playing Crossout right now over the last 2 weeks that have been like, oh yeah, I had the Crossout, but I'm not playing the Ghost Mourner? All of a sudden, Mourner has saw a lot of play. Mourner has come out of nowhere, and people are like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why is Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chill? Remember, if your opponent special summons a monster or monsters face up, except during the damage step, you can discard this card and then target one of those face up monsters, negate its effects until the end of this turn, and if that monster leaves the field, that controller takes damage equal to the original attack. So we have an effect veiler that also burns the opponent for damage. Based on my my mathematics here, time rules exist. And you're telling me that if you special summon any sort of monster, okay, Fenrir, for example, and you do Fenrir effect, I discard this, and you now are stuck with a Fenrir that can't toggle. And if you do anything to have that Fenrir exit stage right, you're taking some life points. And in a time situation, that means that I've actually bridged the gap even more, because if I'm taking at least 2,000 life points off of you, that's only 6,000 damage that I need to do. That speeds up the game. Yeah, Ghost Mourn Moonlit Chill is crazy good right now. And it doesn't... Yeah, it's on a once per turn restriction for sure, versus Veiler, who's not, but call it what it is at this point in time. With Ghost Mourner returning back into the format, if you're playing Crossout and you're not prepared for this, yeah, half the community's going to laugh at you. They're going to be like, haha, you should have had the counter pick. Yeah, I don't blame them at this stage in time. You do need to be aware that this card is ramping up a huge, huge, huge placement in the meta. Okay, so are we surprised about that? I am a little bit, but not really. Next up is Droll and Lockbird's huge boost in the format, and why everybody's upsetty spaghetti about this. Now, we've already had the, oh my god, Droll and Lockbird's so broken, I'm going to crap my pants until it's banned video that, half of the community's on, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I get the Droll can be annoying. I still think my own 2 cents, whether or not you care or not, Droll and Lockbird is sometimes a necessary evil in the game, especially if you're interacting with your deck 300,000 times in a single turn, is a wee little bit annoying. Alright, the fact that Droll puts that stop button on you and forces you to not engage with it anymore is incredibly powerful. Also, let's also call it what it is at this point in time. With walking, talking Kashtira mana over here, when they activate the field spell search, you draw them immediately afterwards. That's the best choke point, because the minute that Kashtira, big, strong removal guy comes down, that's when the effects get sealed, and that's where you're like, oh, I can't actually draw Lockbird anymore. Yeah. If there's been an argument for the card to be banned, it would have been back during the Trickster reincarnation loop. At this point in time, it's just another hand trap that's creating a lingering condition that's stopping the opponent. And it's more high impact than, other hand traps at this point in time. You can call it what it is. I'll be honest with you. I do think that we are seeing that genuine uptick here in play because of how much searching is actually in the meta. Also, to be fair, if Droll and Lockbird does resolve and it doesn't actually choke point out the opponent, well, it is what it is at that point in time. You're trying to get as much advantage as you can, and Droll puts you into that position that you can actually play the game on the next turn. I know. Play the game? How dare I? Should let my opponent build their full field and then try to break it, right? 17 negates? 4-card hand? Yeah, what am I? Easy. And then, of course, the last one I want to talk about here is Nibiru. Nobody is respecting Nibiru right now. That's the quote from my friend. They're like, the amount of people that are just playing into Nibiru, it's astronomical. Now, we have these points in the meta where people will just ignorantly forget that Nibiru is a card. Like, I don't know what it is, but people look at Nibiru, they're like, oh, this card's horrible. Why would I actually ever play this? And then they're ending on the classic Salamangreat field, which is a Nibiru token. All jokes aside, Salad's been having a big success out here, even with Nibiru running around on the spin back in the format. I don't know, maybe that's something that you really should consider out here when looking at things at the end of the day. Maybe there is something to Nibiru coming back into the format. I don't know. But from where I'm sitting right now, everybody, Space Rock is back. It is doing some huge things in the meta, and I think that maybe you, if you're playing competitively right now, if you're looking at the giant Nibiru in the sky and you're like, I can't believe this, I can't believe who plays this garbage. Well, your opponent does, because it just tore your field apart. Just don't put yourself into a position to lose to Nibiru, Fivehead. Come on. Sarcasm aside, the hand trap ramp up on this format, the specialty options have been very nice. There have been a lot of things that are changing, and I think that's actually incredibly good. So what do you think about these cards, per se? Please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.